Get ready
for another episode
of Live Speak. With Justin the Geek.
Justin the Geek.
Justin the Geek.
Justin the Geek.
What you're about to hear.
Live Speak. Justin the Geek.
Breaking news.
Live Speak.
Interesting guests.
Justin
the Geek.
Your calls and texts.
Live Speak. Tips and news you can use. Warning.
Warning.
This program is highly addictive and habit-forming. Side effects include happiness, knowledge, memory improvement, and retention, increased attention span, loss of disabilities, and more. Consult your doctor before listening to this program.
Now, enjoy the show responsibly.
Welcome, everybody, to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I'm excited about today's show. I say that every week, that we have a fantastic show, but I'm kind of geeking out on this show today. As usual, with me today, co-host is Alan Kwong from thedigitalcraft.com. How's it going, Alan?
Good.
Just good? I love your answers every week. It's like, fantastic. What did I say last week? Yeah, fantastic. Let me change it. Good.
That's what. Yes, I changed it today. It took me a second to figure out what I was going to say, but I nailed it.
Very clever. That was perfect. You should be on the radio.
I learned that from big data.
From big data.
I read some data that was big.
That's good. It's a funny thing because I've been telling people all week about the show on big data, and they're like, I don't care. It's big data. I don't want to hear about data, and I don't think they really understand the grasp of it. That's why I'm so excited about it, because it really is something to pay attention to, and it's something to learn about, or at least know about, I should say.
I believe my wife's words were, "You guys are dorks."
Well, yeah, I mean, I hear that all the time. I don't really care what your wife says. I hope she's listening, too. Hi, Virginia. No, I mean, in the term big data, it's a term that describes the accumulation and analysis of information. Now, that's lots and lots of information. We're talking oceans of information. Things like every time someone clicks on something on Amazon, it's recorded and another drop is added to that ocean of data. Every time a scanner beeps at the supermarket checkout, every time a home electricity meter reports a reading, every time a parcel passes through a FedEx checkpoint, and every time someone does a Google search, the ocean swells with data. Now, big data is much more than just big data. It's also the ability to extract meaning, to sort through masses of numbers and find the hidden patterns, the unexpected correlations, and the surprising connections. Now, it won't be long before Amazon's ability to dazzle customers with suggesting the right book will be as quaint as our ancestors' amazement at horseless carriages. I mean, Amazon, before we know it, is going to be able... They have it now to a point where you may also like, but using big data in the future, it's going to be able to select pretty much down to the very selection that you want.
So, like, I'm going to log in there, and it's just going to be like pop up with a window that says, "You're about to buy this."
Right? It's going to be
like,
creepy.
You're right. That's exactly what I was going to buy.
Yeah, and that's the creepy thing about it, is because whether people know it or not, I mean, you leave a trail on the internet wherever you go, whatever you click on, whatever you search for, especially now that people are getting synced in with, like, Google Chrome. When you log into Chrome, and that's your user account, everything you do in Chrome is trackable. You know, everything you do is stored somewhere, and everything's getting personalized. And I'm sure everyone's gotten, or at least seen, this small example of where you're on, let's use Facebook, for example. You're searching for things throughout the day, and then you hop onto Facebook, and their little ads on the side are exactly what you were just searching for. Now, that's a very small example of what we're talking about here with big data. It's a kind of a crazy thing to think about with that sort of thing, because it is very personalized, and I don't know if I'm just that geek that's paranoid, but I try not to sign into things like that. I don't, I use private browsing when I can. I mean, even that's limited, but no matter what we do, there's data there. There's something that's going to track back to us. So I think we'll run to a quick commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the beginning of big data and how it's going to affect us here in the near future.
Coming May 19th to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. A special one-on-one interview with founder and CEO of Spreaker.com, the home of Spreaker Radio, Francesco Baschieri. Find out more about the CEO that made Spreaker.com a leader in broadcasting technology and his story and inspiration behind the company. Plus your phone calls, texts, emails, and more. Don't miss this special interview with Spreaker.com founder and CEO Francesco Baschieri on Live Speak with Justin the Geek. You're listening to Live Speak with Justin the Geek every Sunday at 2 p.m. He's bringing you amazing courses from great instructors on Udemy.com. Lots of tech talk, phone calls, and much more. Live every Sunday of every week. This is Live Speak. Enjoy the show.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Live Speak. We were talking about, before the break, some big data. I want to give you just another example of some factoids, some data that I enjoy, and I'm sure that will be astounding to you guys. This is something I read out of a book that I recently bought called The Human Face of Big Data. It's a very interesting book. If I could, I'd read the whole thing on the show. In fact, most of my notes are pretty much right out of the book. But there's a quote in there, and it's from Eric Schmidt, the executive chairman of Google, and he says, from the dawn of civilization until 2003, humankind generated 5 exabytes of data. Now we produce 5 exabytes every 2 days. That's every 2 days we create as much data as from the dawn of civilization until 2003. That's crazy. That's just insane to me. I don't know if it's just me geeking out or not, but to me that's a lot of information, and it's little things all over the place. Now let's talk about something like medicine. At one time, doctors made decisions based on nothing more than experience and their hunches. And the shift to proper data collection and analysis has improved medicine spectacularly. There used to be a time, where people would just guess, here's the medicine you need. Now they're moving towards advances in which DNA sequencing is becoming more and more affordable, and therefore, when you go to a doctor, they can sequence your data and all your DNA and figure out what medication is going to be perfect for you, what cure is going to be perfect to you. Now, there's all kinds of cures and things that are out there and medications that are sitting on shelves that they don't know what to do with because they can't get approved because the side effects are wrong or they're too bad for a general population. But you might be one of those people that has the proper DNA to have that cancer cure or that AIDS cure. So that, to me, that's really exciting. And as far as like psychology, the most basic insight of modern psychology is that most of our mental life happens outside of consciousness. And by definition, we are not aware of it. So we are, to an unsettling extent, strangers to ourselves, which is really scary.
Hello, Alan.
Does that hit home with you, Alan?
I've always been a stranger.
Well, I know that. But I mean, the fact that we really don't know ourselves as well as we think we do. And everyone has said that, but they're starting to kind of prove that a little bit more with big data and the psychology of it. And they say that's why when people are asked what choice they would make in a certain situation, they're often wrong. And it's also why when they're asked why they made a particular choice, the reasons they give are often not what actually motivated the choice, but are rather post-factor rationalizations that disguise the unsettling truth that we don't know the answer. And that's, I mean, for me, I've thought about that many times in my life because I don't really know specifically what I like, what my favorites are. People ask me, what's your favorite movie? I have no idea.
Facebook will tell you.
Exactly. They'll know. And that's what they're hinting at. They're hinting at the more that you do online and things that the trail that you leave behind will uncover this unconscious thought process.
Facebook's telling me right now that I'd like a desk with a treadmill underneath it. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, that's because I read that in this book for the Quantified Man, and I was like, I think Alan could use a treadmill desk. Why not?
Thanks.
I don't know how people could use it. I don't know how you work on a treadmill desk.
That's interesting, though, because that's not necessarily relevant to me. It's something I clicked on that you sent me, and now it shows up as something that should be relevant to me, or at least according to Facebook is relevant to me.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Bad data. Bad data.
Bad data.
Shame on you, data.
Well, I mean, here's where it's interesting. Big data can't tap into our unconscious thought processes directly, but with a vast storehouse of our past decisions, like we've talked about, and to analyze, it could detect patterns of behavior that we're not aware of, and those patterns could reveal the unconscious thought process that drive those behaviors. So in a very real sense, big data could know us better than we know ourselves eventually. Of course.
That's a little unsettling.
It is. It really is to me. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, that don't think they know themselves that well. I mean, that's pretty much everybody, unless you're very confident in who you are. But, I mean, I think a majority of us don't really know who we are. We're just kind of going with what we think we are. And it comes down to, are you going to trust what big data says? You know, based on your decisions in the past? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's hard to do, since some of the data is fact and some of it's statistics and some of it's just stuff like
Right.
Wikipedia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Wikipedia.
Wikitruth.
Yeah, that was so funny when it came out. That was the all-knowing Encyclopedia Britannica of the New Age.
I mean, you know, and a lot of it's accurate, but
Right.
then again, if you rely on it, it's going to fail you. As it's no different than really just asking somebody else, do you know what this means? And then they tell you, and you go, okay, I believe you.
Right.
Considering that same person might have wrote the article on Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's a good point, because anybody has access to it, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So there's other thing that we go into is, like I was talking about, versus I think versus I know. And as we transition from sampling and polling data to having a complete census of enormous data sets, we also transition from I think I'm sure to I know it and I can prove it. And that's proven by Google. I mean, they've created a census of every word published since 1500. And we now know exactly who used more than 500 billion words in more than 5 million books. And we now know that the words love and war battled for frequency of usage from 1800 through 1914. And love usually triumphed. Since 1914, isn't that nice?
That's very sweet.
But since 1914, of course, war has been the overwhelming victor. And for those that are curious, the word sex, for better or worse, it's been steadily gaining on the ever-declining use of the word love. Of course.
Isn't that just a replacement for love?
I think so, yeah. It's pretty much, yeah. I don't know. The very beginnings of data collection, and I want to say this real quick, I will bounce back and forth during the show between the word data and data. I told Alan this before the show. I don't know why I do it, but I think part of it is the nerd in me that says data. Alan says people that say data have a pocket protector, and I do. And I say data as well, so you'll hear me throughout the show doing that. Data.
Us Midwesterners say data.
Data. Yeah, see, I'm not really from anywhere, so I'm actually from another planet. No, I moved around so much that I say pop and soda and Coke and whatever.
You are truly a stranger to yourself.
You know, big data, help me. Please help me find out who I am.
Is it worded big data like big pharma? That's what I always think in my head whenever I say it.
Big pharma? Maybe.
Big pharma. Big data. As if it's like some monster.
You know, I honestly think they just call it big data because the book that I have is like more than a foot tall. I think that's it. I think it's just because the book is enormous. It's a fascinating book, though, and I want to read the differences in data sets for some people that don't know the differences in bytes and kilobytes and things like that. And this goes all the way up to, and this is a shock to me, I had never heard of a zettabyte before, but I'll give you a few examples. In a byte, they say equals one character, like in a Word document, that'd be one letter, or a grain of sand. That's the size of a byte. Then you go up to a kilobyte, which is the size of a sentence or a couple of pinches of sand. Therefore, you go up to a megabyte, equals a 20-slide PowerPoint show, a small book, or a tablespoon of sand. A gigabyte, which you hear all the time, is 10 yards of books on a shelf, or a shoebox full of sand. You're starting to hear more about terabytes, and that's 300 hours of good quality video, which is a tenth of the Library of Congress, or a playground sandbox. A petabyte, which is 350,000 digital pictures or a mile-long stretch of beach. An exabyte, which I've only heard a few times in movies, really. And that's half the information generated worldwide in 1999, or a beach from Maine to North Carolina. And finally, a zettabyte is an unimaginable size, or beach as big as all the coastlines in the world. And we're progressing towards that in a lot of different areas. This company, Wiley & Sons, it's a 200-year-old publishing company, and due to the expanded market for interactive audio and video content, in the past 2 years has increased its data from 15 to 150 terabytes of storage in 2 years. Now, if you think about that, we could run out of storage. I know that doesn't sound feasible, but
I'm about to run out.
I know. I mean, and we've gone from think about back in the day when we walked to school uphill both ways.
No shoes. Right,
exactly, in the snow. Mm-hmm. We had the little tiny floppy disks, or 5 1/4 actual floppy disks, and you didn't carry much information at all. We're talking a little 3.5 inch floppy disk was actually like 2.4 megabytes, and that was the big ones. That's not a lot back then, but we're up to terabytes, and people have 2 terabyte hard drives in their tiny ultrabooks now, and laptops. And that's in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, I'm looking at a stack of external hard drives right now that probably total up to about 5 terabytes. They're almost full.
Yeah, that's insane to me. I mean, it's crazy. And think of it worldwide. These big companies that are constantly doing audio and video and, like YouTube. It's crazy.
Yeah, and what kills me is if these places need more room and they're just storing text data, like knowledge, as compared to, it's easy to fill up one of these hard drives full of video, but to fill it full of text, would be insane.
Oh, absolutely. Let's go to a quick commercial break here, and I want to talk about, again, the beginning of data collection, or data collection, whatever you want to call it. But I'm going to throw on the song here. This song is actually by Arit Esselin. She was on the show about a month ago. She's an instructor on Udemy. It's called Wild Ones. It's the cover of Flow Rider. We'll be right back talking about big data on Live Speak with Justin the Geek.
Hey, I heard you are a wild one. Ooh, if I took you home, it'd be a home run. Show me how you do. I wanna shut down the clock with you. Hey, I heard you like the wild one. Ooh.
They say that wild boy, energy cake, so we party all night. Yeah, let me relay. Another one time, keep it on replay. Now we gon' make that like one day. Tell me what it got, tell me what it is. Say what it was good, what it was good. All my balls like chips, success for the end of the night. With all of my mess, I'm going crazy. I'm going half, up within the bed like I'm a new fresh prince. They say remember me from last night when the song past 10. Just what we do for the music. With you, take that, get it, just lose it. Music is special, most of the girls think stupid like J.A. Go Steve-O.
Hey, I heard you are a wild one.
Steve-O.
Ooh,
Come Steve-O.
if I took you home, it'd be a home
Be the wild
run.
ones. Be the wild
Show
ones.
me how
Wake
you
up.
do. I wanna shut down the clock with you. Hey, I heard you like a wild one.
Shot glass pulled up, but it's even more blood. I always shut, cause I'm always getting messed up. I'm a one, drinking till the sun's up. Hit the fingers up like we don't give a fuck. We can party like all day, keep it rockin' all night. Show it to the venue like hold up. DJ turn it up, cause this my night. Like a rubber. Shots keep on coming like, homie, we don't stop. Keep it bumping in the club like a bottle gonna pop. To all the ladies, you can drop it down low. Wanna back up, make it boogie on the pole. Party to the AM, do it to the morning. To the young, right in here.
Hey, I heard you are a wild one. Ooh,
Justin the Geek.
Break it up, break it up, break it up.
On the ones and twos.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. We were talking again before the break. If anybody has missed it at this point, it's big data and the effects that it's going to have on us. I wanted to talk about like the very beginning of data collection itself. There's something in this book, again, The Human Face of Big Data, and it's called The Bills of Mortality. And it may be one of the most important texts in human history as far as big data collection. This was recording the rise and fall of the plague that struck England in 1664. It's the first book ever to document the spread of human disease. From this book, they compiled the first true health data set, and for the first time, it became clear that public health could be charted, it could be mathematical, and it could be predicted. From the bills of mortality came, of course, the probability industry, came statistics, and from that came insurance, which we all have to deal with all the time. So reading about that, it was really, really intriguing to me that this extremely old bills of mortality documented death, basically. And it showed how the patterns in which people died. It showed that people were just dying of natural causes, and then at a certain point it showed plague victims, and they were able to document for a certain amount of time it was only plague victims that were dying. So they were able to figure out, hey, we have a problem, which obviously is a plague, and figure out how to solve that problem.
If that wasn't obvious with the bodies in the street.
Right. But again, back then with medicine, it's like, well, how did he die? You know, it was kind of all guesswork. In 1600.
Oh, they had some interesting theories for all those things too.
Well, that's true. If you have Johnny Depp from the old movies coming in, telling you that it's witches. But that leads me to, I mean, this is a very weird change, but it was in my book, and it's fascinating to me about data sets, and we were talking about the Watson, this supercomputer. This was I think it was the one that was on Jeopardy, and I missed it. I wish I got to find the video somewhere.
YouTube, buddy.
Yeah, I haven't really looked for it. I've been reading the book like a good nerd. But I mean, you know more about this, the Watson, a little more than me. And the
you assume?
I do assume.
I did watch the Jeopardy episode.
Did you?
Or plural episodes, I think.
I never did.
A while ago, though.
I got to see him.
I mean, it is what it is. It's a computer that can answer questions. But I don't know. I'm less intrigued by the Watson than I am of us being able to answer these questions like Watson.
Yeah.
Taking data and being able to retrieve it similar to the fashion that Watson can, which one might think is, I don't know, our brain limits us from finding that information that's already in our head.
Right. Yeah, Watson was plugged in and was reading like all of Wikipedia during the show. No,
Hopefully not. Otherwise, it wouldn't have gotten it right.
Yeah, I mean, in the article in my book, it says that he had pretty much downloaded Wikipedia, and so he had a lot of random knowledge that there's no way a human being could. So that's kind of unfair. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think at some point we will, though, and that's what's cool about big data to me, anyways. Statistics and all that crap are cool, but being able to retrieve that information ourselves, like carrying around I was going to say like a little backpack with knowledge in it, but I mean, I guess we have a cell phone that can do the same thing.
Yeah.
But being able to actually tap into it using our brain rather than having to, tap on the keyboard and or just wanting to, being able to just actually, somebody asks you a question and that's right. my computer noise, my data noise. And it just comes to us. Of course, if we get to that point, then someone really doesn't even have to ask us the question because they already know the answer anyways, and that's kind of freaky.
Yeah, that's really weird. But I mean, I'm personally excited for the next 5 years and what's possible and what's going to happen. And with this Watson computer thing, I understand that it was a computer. Most people think, well, that's kind of unfair. It's a computer. Of course, it's going to know more than Ken Jennings, the white man's hero, but the computer itself, we're not talking about somebody sitting behind a computer and typing in questions and answering them. This is a totally uncontrolled computer. Imagine your home computer just sitting there, and you just ask it a question, and it just finds the answer for you and recites it.
Which it kind of already does.
Right. But we have to tell it what to go look for. And, I mean, I guess you kind of do that when you're asking a question, but it's in context. You know, we're talking Jeopardy. They don't ask questions in normal fashion on Jeopardy. Not in one bit. It's all the answer, then you come up with the question. And it's all kinds of random topics and things like that. So it's not like it's just asking it, what's 2 + 2 or any logical question. It's asking all kinds of random stuff about pop culture, and it's just able to go and find the answer. But then again, I did read that it was having difficulty like repeating people's names, and you know, I'd love to see that. Just have it trash talking Alex Trebek.
Trebek.
Alex Trebek.
Yeah, I think, like, I mean, it's definitely cool. What I would love to see, well, I don't know if I'd love to see it. It'd probably be kind of scary, but you take some of the robotics that, like, Boston, what is it called? Boston Labs, I think, that they're working on, like these very humanoid robots, and then giving them the knowledge that something like Watson has available. That gets creepy and weird. Then it's not, then it's not just this thing that you can turn off. Well, I guess you can still turn off a robot, but it's not just a big supercomputer, Yeah. It's an actual being, something that you can grow attached to and feel like you have a relationship with, which is creepy.
That's really creepy. I mean, they hit on it in a lot of science fiction movies, and it sounds nuts, but I mean, we are moving in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, and because with the combination of like a robot and a supercomputer, you take out all the gobbledygook that's in humans' heads, emotions and things like that, and they can arrive at not only an answer quicker, but a response as far as a physical response as to what to do with the situation, things like that, based on statistics and information and all that jazz that's in the computer. So. Pretty crazy. Yeah. Because I would think no matter how tapped into this big data we could ever get, we still have our brain stopping us. Mm-hmm. Or maybe not our brain, but our soul. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
What do you call it? The human flaw, I guess.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Weird stuff.
It is very, very weird. Let's go to a quick commercial break, and I want to come back, and I'm going to give everybody a few more factoids, then we'll move on to a couple more interesting topics here. We'll be right back on Live Speak with Justin the Geek.
Stop. Everyone listen to me. You're spending hundreds of dollars and wasting time taking your computer to the Geek Squad. If you want your computer to run better,
Here is the secret.
do it yourself. I know that sounds like a lot of work.
But I promise you it's not.
With proper guidance, you can get your computer running like brand new again.
See for yourself.
Sign up for computer repair for beginners and experts alike today. It's only $9.
That's it.
Even if you don't think your computer needs a tune-up, this course is designed to help prevent future problems from happening. If someone told you that you could prevent your car from breaking down, would you take advantage of it? Of course you would. So why neglect your computer, especially for only $9? And every review has been a perfect 5-star rating that speaks for itself. With a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, what do you have to lose? Head over to www.geekcreations.com and click online courses to get started today.
Save yourself a headache.
Fix it in one day so you can get back to using your computer again.
Go now.
www.geekcreations.com. That's
GEEKREATIONS.com.
and click online courses. Time is wasting. Go now. You're listening to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. Every Sunday at 2 p.m., he's bringing you amazing courses from great instructors
On Udemy.com.
lots of tech talk,
Phone calls.
and much more. Live every Sunday of every week. This is Live Speak.
Enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. Again, I'm here with Alan Quant from thedigitalcraft.com. I wanted to give you a few factoids that I got out of my book, which there's a lot in this book, and I could go over them for hours. But one of them, of course, is about Facebook that I wanted to share with people because it's really interesting, but it's kind of creepy to think about it too. And it says that 955 million monthly active accounts are on Facebook. And they're using 70 languages, meaning that 10% of the entire world is now socially connected. Now, 10% doesn't seem like a lot, but 955 million people socially connected to one another, knowing each other's business, that's just nuts. And knowing what's going on. 35% of the world's photographs end up on Facebook. That's from professional photographers, your everyday self-duck lip photos that you take.
Yeah, we actually have there's a group here, well, not really here, I guess it is here, but on Facebook for the history of Fort Wayne, Indiana. And there's just every day, there's just this onslaught of more and more photos from, not just from like, you know, the library and stuff and newspapers, but people's home photos, you know, maybe your great grandparents' photos and things like that nobody in, you know, in the city would ever see, you know? So you're getting to see all these really cool photos of the city growing, you know, way back 100 years. And, you know, just things like that are pretty cool. Just seeing that kind of stuff surface.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, and like we didn't have the ability to do that back in the day. You know, somebody couldn't see a picture that you had in your wallet if they were out of state. Now it's like, oh, just scan it, throw it on Facebook.
Do people keep pictures in their wallets anymore?
I don't know. I think it's all on cell phones anymore. I have...
Your cell phone is basically your wallet.
Yeah, I don't have any pictures in my wallet. That's funny. Eventually, we won't have wallets. Women will still have purses. That's a given. They will always have purses, even if everything's implanted in our skin. They'll still have purses to carry around lipstick and whatnot. But they won't have to carry credit cards. So that's good. The Facebook, too, it was 140 billion photos have been uploaded. 140 billion photos. That's more than, it says more than 300 million every single day. And that's a collection that's 10,000 times larger than all the photos in the Library of Congress. The biggest library in the world. It's crazy.
I imagine those photos are in there too.
Yeah, I think so. But that's nuts. I mean, that's a lot of photos. And again, that creates data, that creates more space. I mean, we're going to run out. I mean, think about when you used to write down stuff on paper. It's like you have the paper was made from trees, the trees were grown. Now it's like you just create data. It's like I'm just going to make a picture and throw it out somewhere. And it has to go somewhere digitally. And eventually, I mean, we're talking about all kinds of cables in the ocean that go all the way to the router in your house. It's nuts. I'm done geeking out.
Will we actually have a shortage of data of space one day? You know, like oil or fuel?
That's what they're saying. Yeah. I mean, because at this point, it's almost exponential how quickly we're growing. You know, and that's freaky. I don't think we could really run out because, I mean, you keep creating things, get rid of old stuff. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, is it going to get to a point where I'm going to feel bad that I have this like terabyte hard drive that's empty right. And I'm not sharing it with everybody else?
I don't know. I mean, are we going to come up with
have people like banging on my door trying to steal my terabytes?
Yeah, I don't know. We won't be allowed to see that, I'm sure, but are we going to be recycling our data? I have no idea. Setting our data out in recycle bins for the recycle.
Cleansing our data.
Yeah. I wanted to mention too, really quick, I saw this in my notes, and it was a program that I told you about, Alan, the other day, and it's called Dollars for Docs, and it's a program that came out of nowhere because due to recent legal settlements with the federal government, they require those pharmaceutical companies that have paid doctors quietly, they now have to make that information available. And they did that. They made all this information available, but they didn't make it accessible. So it was just like, here's all these numbers, and here's all this junk. Good luck figuring out what it means. And this company called ProPublica created this program called Dollars for Docs. If you go on and Google Dollars for Docs, you can go to their website. And basically what it is, it's a single database that analyzes and organizes that reported data in a coherent way and enables everyone to search for their own doctors to determine if they might be compromised. So you can go to this website type in the company that your doctor works for. Like here, it's Kaiser. I have Kaiser Permanente, Legacy Health. Anyway, I can type in Kaiser Permanente, look up a doctor's name on their website, and see if he got his meals paid for, see if he got a car, see if he got paid off in any way to give somebody medication. So that's incredible to me. Because,
that's wild.
You know, you can finally kind of tell your doctor that you don't want something and know why. Because if I go to a doctor and he recommends a certain medication to me and it has these terrible side effects, and I'm like, well, why is he recommending these to me? Well, maybe he's getting paid off to do that. You know, maybe they're getting.
I guess I never realized doctors are getting paid off like college sports recruits.
Oh, I've known it for a long time. Only because my mom was a nurse, I knew they have drug reps, and the drug reps come in, and the minimalist thing that they do, the very smallest thing, is they leave free pens. I know that sounds stupid, but they leave free pens with the name of the drug on it. But that's just for everybody there and for the advertising. But they also use insurance companies and whatnot to pay doctors. And these doctors get paid to hand out certain medications. That's how, I mean, a lot of medications get out there. And that's why their pharmaceutical companies are so rich. Because doctors have the control. And now you can kind of go and get that control back. And you can go to a doctor and know a list of what he recommends because he's been paid off. And if he tries to recommend it to you, you can ask him why.
Yeah, I think a combination of this information and the information you talked about earlier about the being able to get drugs that are shelved out to people that actually need them.
Oh, yeah.
You can combine that with the knowledge of this kind of knowledge, and that should be pretty interesting dynamic there.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited to see if that, because there are some people that DNA sequencing used to be, thousands and thousands of dollars, and now you can get, I think it's for like $800, you can actually get your DNA sequence. And there's a lady in this book that had that done, and it shows all these percentages of things that possibly could happen to her, things that she's more apt to get, like, early onset diabetes or type 2 diabetes, or if she's prone to have liver cancer or things like that, just by getting her DNA sequence for $800. So you can get that done, and then hopefully soon you'll be able to know what medications you can be on and how exactly it will affect you. No more guessing, no more hoping that you're going to, not get sick or whatever. But and then
at that point, do we even need a doctor to prescribe us things anymore?
I'm so glad you said that, because that's what they talk about in this book. It's like we have, for the longest time, have had to take our health into our own hands. And they talk about in here some more statistics about emergency room visits, urgent care visits, and a lot of people are claiming, emergency rooms and urgent cares are a failure on the healthcare system, in their opinion. And so they're tracking all this emergency room stuff, and basically people are just taking their health into their own hands and figuring it out by themselves anyway. Because you have to, because the doctors get paid off. They don't care. Healthcare is so ridiculously priced. So, I mean, if you can get your DNA sequenced and know, hey, this medication here is supposed to work with me perfectly, you could go, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know if you would have to go to a doctor anymore. You could just go to a pharmacy and be like, hey, can I get this filled?
Yeah, I would hope.
Here's my recommendation. Here's everything it says I need. Fill it.
Yeah, I mean, we already have all this information in front of us, like you're saying. And then, although, I mean, as a doctor, I would probably be really irritated by the amount of people that come in and say, well, WebMD told me this.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
But at the same time, a lot of that information is probably accurate. And if you do have doctors being paid off and other incentives in general skewing their thought, plus, some doctors, do they even know enough to do what we're doing on the internet to try, find information about things? I've taken medications that have horrible side effects and withdrawals, and brought it up to my doctors, and they tell me, well, I've never heard that before.
Never heard of it. Yeah.
Like, well, I know, 20 other people personally that have had the same effect, and like,
right.
And to have a doctor tell me that they've never heard of that, it just kind of scares me.
Yeah, it's really scary. I mean, yeah, that to me is nuts too. And that goes back to, I mean, this is another really important thing that I found great in this book, and it's called, there's a section called Our Data Ourselves, and it's about this new movement called self-tracking, which is, it's spreading far beyond, data obsessed engineers anymore. And it's basically tracking your fitness, your sleeping habits, pretty much everything you do. And some of the things that they have out there now there's little devices that help you do that. And you've talked about them before. I know that you've talked about your brain helmet, which
I've actually I use that term. I thought I made it up as a joke, and people are actually referring to it as that now. Not because of me, I'm sure, but that thing is amazing to me. And one day I'll actually I totally forgot about my dream to own a emotive brain helmet.
And you will.
I will one day.
Yeah.
What I do with it, I have no idea. I know at least one of the students on with the digital craft has went out and bought one, and he got it and he said it was awesome, but he didn't really know what to do with it after that. So I'm hoping I don't fall into that category. But you combine things like that can read your brain waves, and you can train it to do certain things based on that. You mix that with this data, and you get closer to what I was bringing up earlier, where you can retrieve things or, I don't know,
right.
Craziness.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to this new self-tracking, and a lot of people do it without even knowing, I'm sure, but there are different ways of going about it. And, there's all kinds of wearable wireless devices that can measure, your sleep patterns, your walking speeds, heart rates, calories consumed, how many calories you expend. And a lot of people are doing this. It says nearly 10 million such devices were sold in North America. I mean, the U.S. alone is very obsessed with health and dieting and things like that, and losing weight, of course.
I think there's equally the same amount who are obsessed with not being obsessed with it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I fall into that category.
And they talk about this that says 27% of internet users have kept track of their weight, diet, or exercise, or monitored health indicators or symptoms online. And I think that by now, that might be even higher than 27%. But, I mean, I think everybody's gone online and asked a question about their health, trying to figure out what's wrong with them, why aren't they sleeping, or things like that. But there's, there's questions being asked about, with this self-tracking, that with the data can help you learn, like the correlations between how does coffee correlate with productivity, or what physical activity leads to the best sleep, or how does food affect bowel movements, mood, headaches. It all kind of goes down to just figuring things out. What affects what? It's triage. We're tracking what affects what in the human body.
We can find a good balance of that between the hospitals and doctors and us and our own knowledge. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And there's there's apps out there for people too. There's one called Run Keeper, which keeps track of your running habits and how far you've gone and things like that. There's this great $100 Fitbit Ultra, it's called. I was reading about that. And it's basically, it logs all sorts of metrics, your brainwave patterns during sleep, your heart rates during exercise, the leg power exerted on bike rides. I mean, pretty much everything you do, it's being recorded. It's relatively new idea, of course, using phones. The phones now have apps and things like that with pedometers and things like that. But if you think about it, this data tracking, it could even help monitor infectious disease. I mean, showing that certain patterns picked up by a person's phone, such as decrease in calls and text messages, correspond to onset of the common cold and influenza. If outfitted with software that can intervene with data analysis, suggests the early stages of an illness, your next phone could help you figure out you're sick before you're even aware of the problem.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That would be so strange. They even say that certain data sets of a person's speech and movement could provide insight into conditions such as depression and Alzheimer's disease.
I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, some people's speech and movement slow when they experience severe depression. Now, if your phone sensors could effectively measure change in speech or movement over time, then the app could suggest a doctor's visit when a person's state of mind declines. It could be like, hey, you don't seem to be doing so well. Maybe you should see your doctor. You didn't call your mom last week. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah. No. Now, if the doctors are irritated by us coming in saying that WebMD told us something, now they're going to be even more irritated. Well, my phone told me I was sick.
Oh my gosh. Could you imagine?
I was on my way to work. I felt fine, but my phone said I was sick, and now I'm here.
And
Fixed.
now I'm here. That's awesome. Some people, I mean, are taking it to an extreme. There's this a gentleman, his name's AJ Jacobs, and he actually he calls him the quantified man because he quantified himself. He started by counting how many chews he had, or like every meal, how much he would chew something. That was just how he started out with this kind of tracking, and he would count. And so when he chewed a lot more, if he chewed 15 times versus 5 times, he would eat slower and therefore eat less. And he basically started out to become the healthiest man alive ever.
Did he succeed?
Actually, I haven't finished it because I'm going to have him on the show. AJ Jacobs is going to be on Live Speak in a few weeks, and I'm going to have him talk about his journey. But obsessively, I mean, this guy hooked himself up to every possible monitor you could think of. He washed his hands all the time. You know, he covered himself with sunscreen all day long. I mean, he had, I think, in hearing the video, and I'll put the link to the video of his TED Talk, he actually talks about how he used a Dixie cup full of sunscreen every day.
Shot glass.
Or shot glass.
Well, I guess that's about the same, I think.
Yeah,
Little
but
Dixie cups are about the same.
I don't even think it was once a day. I think it was more than once a day. But he said
I think it was something like every hour you're supposed to apply that. And he was looking pretty slimy.
Yeah, he just was all shiny and, it's just everything he does. It just talking in the book is hilarious because he's like, this article took me 2 hours and 43 minutes. And while I wrote this, I walked 2.5 miles on my treadmill desk. That's where I got the idea
that's
for
where
the
that came
treadmill desk.
from.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But I mean, that's how obsessed and awesome it was. I think it's really cool. I couldn't do it. But I mean, he walked around with a surgical mask on to prevent him from getting sick. He just tried to be a robot.
I'm curious to ask him when he's on the show that, because we were laughing about that desk or off the show the other day and about how incredibly difficult it probably is to do any work while running on a treadmill.
Yeah, seriously.
I can barely type as it is. But like, I'm curious how much all of that effort, I mean, I know some of it was overkill, but how much of it would impede on his life or get in the way of his normal everyday activities.
Oh, man.
Because at what point have you definitely obsessed over it and gone too far?
Yeah, and I think that might have been part of his plan in this too, because he really did. I mean, he went way overboard and on purpose, of course. But he had things tracked, data sets like he figured out that vacuuming at his place was 246 calories per hour. Playing shuffleboard was 211 calories. Cooking Indian bread on an outside stove was 211 calories per hour. I mean, he tracked everything and recorded everything he did. And a lot of the stuff tracked it for him, of course. That's the beauty of all these different devices and stuff now.
I think it'd be interesting because, I might be working and not have time to go home and make a nice, healthy turkey sandwich, or something like that. And so I go to McDonald's and get a nice, non-healthy, almost beef sandwich. But, and is that, I would think, in the short term that, going home and doing the healthy route is getting in the way of, what I need to do. But then at the long term, the effects, maybe I won't live as long. So I just lost 10 years worth of work in the long run because I ate McDonald's every day. Right. So I'm interested in see how those kind of things come out and, what is good and what is bad. To what extent do you monitor things and keep yourself healthy and to what extent do you just do what you normally do? Right.
Yeah, that's a genius question because I keep going back to just him washing his hands every however many minutes he had to wash his hands. And I've had to do that. When I worked at the school district, I washed my hands all the time because I didn't want to get sick, but my hands were so dry, by the end of every day, my hands were dried out and cracked, and I can't even imagine. And he washed his hands like every 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I'm interested in that too. Things like that. Like,
how does it affect your body?
Yeah, I mean, I rarely ever get sick, and I'm not saying I don't wash my hands. I do wash my hands, but I don't, because of some obsessive compulsive things going on in my brain. I don't touch a lot of things,
right.
and I do not like being dirty. I don't like my hands being dirty, especially the inside of it where I touch things,
mm-hmm.
which of course I don't normally touch things. But then I of course I rarely ever get sick. So I'm wondering, I don't know. These things are crazy to me.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean,
does that equal out to me, you washing your hands 30 times a day and touching a whole bunch of dead raw fish?
yeah, or just not touching something.
Right, or washing your hands 10 times a day and not touching dead raw fish.
Mm. You got to be careful, because I bet your questions will make him do this all over again. He's going to be like, you know what? I'm going to do it again just to prove something.
I do know he will not convince me to touch dirty things, though. I win there.
Yeah, yeah, he will not.
That's 32 years in the making. That habit's not changing.
Well, we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back again here on Live Speak with Justin the Geek.
Need a do-it-yourself-witty website? Let the gurus at thedigitalcraft.com teach you how to build, design, and maintain your website at an affordable price. They offer private training on web programming, graphic and web design, video production, motion graphics, and expert consulting. Book your session today on Facebook at facebook.com/thedigitcraft and check out free tutorials at youtube.com/thedigitcraft or take our courses on udemy.com. Thedigitalcraft.com, your web and design gurus.
Getting an amazing education is a must, but going to classes and listening to boring teachers can be very painful and expensive. Luckily, we have the internet, but it is so hard to find courses that are high quality, cheap, and easily accessible. Not anymore, thanks to Udemy. Udemy is the online academy for you. At Udemy, you can find hundreds of great courses from world-class instructors. You can learn stuff like how to create awesome demo videos cheaply, how to program in Python, Ruby, or HTML, how to start your own company, even how to wiggle your feet to the rhythm of salsa. But what if you want to teach others what you know? No problem. Udemy makes it super easy to create your own course in a few steps. Just create an account for free, give your course a name, upload all your content in any format, video, audio, PowerPoint, Word, PDF, publish it, and voila! It's now accessible to anyone, at any time, all over the world. You can even set a price for your course so you can make some money. Learn anything, teach anything at Udemy, the Academy of You.
This is the one you've been waiting for.
Justin the Geek. Check this out. Fire.
Assume the position.
Mixing it up.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. I want to let everybody know again, if you haven't heard, that May 19th, next Sunday, we're going to have Francesco Baschieri. He's going to be on. He's the CEO and co-founder of Spreaker.com, the very platform that I'm using right now to do my radio show. So he's going to come on next week and talk with Alan and I about his start, how he came up with Spreaker, what he did before Spreaker, and his move to San Francisco from Italy, which is a kind of a crazy move, but it must have paid off for him. So that's next week at 2 p.m. We were talking about the quantified man before the break, and Alan and I were both in agreement that it would probably be nuts to do that. And basically, I mean, for me, it's like, just live your life. This guy did this for a point. He did this for science and for statistics and data. And I don't know how it affected him, and I want to know how it did, how it affected his life. And because he's married, has kids, would you just not touch your kids? I don't know. But we'll definitely find out when we talk to him, because AJ Jacobs will be on the show in a few weeks. As soon as I can get that confirmed, I'll let everybody know. I wanted to move on to this. I wrote it in the announcement yesterday or the day before for this show, this big data show, about whether or not things that we recycle are actually being recycled. And it's been a question, and they actually did a study in Seattle here in Washington. And I want to read a couple things here out of my book because I find it really interesting. And what they did is they're taking these little tiny devices, and they had a bunch of volunteers, 500 actually in Seattle, and they attached these tiny transmitters to 3,000 items of common household trash, ranging from batteries to banana peels. And using like cell phone technology, the tags transmitted the location of the trash, enabling the team to triangulate each item's location, map it in real time, and virtually track the contents. And it says that, the good news is that Seattle did a good job of handling its trash. About 95% of the items reached a recycling facility. A much higher percentage than the national average, of course, it says. The bad news is that the remaining 5% went on astonishing energy-wasting journeys. For example, one printer cartridge traveled nearly 4,000 miles to a specialized facility, negating any carbon gains from its recycling, of course. Other electronic and hazardous waste traveled more than 900 miles. So certain areas of the country are doing really well with the recycling, but people are trying to question that, and why not? I say question everything. I mean, if they're saying to recycle stuff, do we actually know if it's being recycled? And that's what these people are trying to figure out. And we'll have more data on that the more that they do. And the first one was just in Seattle, but I wanted to answer that question for everybody because I said I would. So.
You had me thinking of visualizing my vehicle, and depending on my mood, how much trash might be in it, and how much I travel with my trash, and how many miles the trash logs before it even gets to the trash man.
Oh man.
Sorry.
You're gonna be quantifying the weirdest things, aren't you? Next week, you're gonna be like, check out all this data I got, man. I drove around with like 3 pizzas in the back of my car.
I totally destroyed the environment.
No, I mean, in summary, big data, it's out there. It affects everything. And I'm going to do another show about big data because that was maybe a quarter of this book that I've been through.
But you won't let me read?
Well, I would let you, but it's 15 inches tall and it's like 14 inches wide. It's huge.
Part of my contract with the show is that I get that book.
Oh, we have a contract now? Okay.
Yeah, I wrote it down here on a napkin.
Oh, that's perfect. I must have signed it in my sleep since you live many states away from me.
A plethora.
Yeah. I'll send this book in the mail. It's going to cost me about $60 though. So totally
sure.
Defeats the purpose of maybe I'll just scan it, add to our data supply.
There you go.
But anyway, we will do another show on big data. Like I said, next week, tune in for the show with Francesco. I think it's going to be fun. I want to hear how he got started and what he did to get started. There's a lot of people out there with startups and ideas, and it's going to be a great show to listen to so you can find out what to do, how to get money. I think that's the biggest thing that people want to know is how you get any kind of startup capital. So we'll be talking with him next week. If you want to learn anything, you can head over to thedigitalcraft.com and talk with Alan and do some private sessions. He's got, I don't know how booked you are right now.
Fluctuates.
It fluctuates, yeah. Well, just book a session and he'll help you out with whatever you want. Anything pretty much digital, the guy knows. So, yeah, head over there. Head to thegeekcreations.com after the show. I'll throw a recap on there and some of the videos and links that I have for my book and the link to the book on Amazon.com, so you can go ahead and get that. We will see you next week. Thank you again for listening. Have a good day.
You've been listening to Live Speak with Justin the Geek. Every Sunday at 2 p.m., Justin brings you amazing courses on Udemy.com and amazing guests and great conversation. Miss an episode? No problem. Go to www.geekcreations.com and click on the episode to listen. And join us next week for another episode of Live Speak with Justin the Geek.